Welcome to an all-new episode of Get Lit with Lianna, the podcast. Join me as I sit down with a new guest author in each episode to discuss their books, careers, and everything in between. Today, I'm sitting down with author Holly James, who wrote the new book, Nothing But the Truth. I'm so excited to chat with Holly because not only is she a first-time author, but she's also one of the first authors I've had on this podcast that hasn't written a classic romance. She's written a really strong women's fiction novel that poses a lot of important questions and raises a lot of good points. It touches on women empowerment, equality in the workplace, life in a post-Me Too era, and so much more. So I can't wait to dive into some of those themes with Holly in today's episode. I really hope you enjoy this conversation. So without further ado, my chat with Holly James starts right now. Welcome, Holly, to this podcast. I'm so happy you're here. I can't wait to talk to you about this book. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for taking the time on your 4th of July.
Thank you. No, I'm so excited to be here. I feel like I'm talking to like a Bookstagram celebrity. I'm so excited to get to have a conversation with you.
Stop. I appreciate it. You're always like so kind in my DMs and listening to the episodes and like replying to my stuff. So this is very fun to be able to like talk to you face to face. I'm very excited.
Yeah.
Before we get into this book, I would love to know a little bit more about you and like what you were doing before you were writing, because this is, to my understanding, your debut, right?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in my non-writing life, I'm actually a scientist. Very different from
oh my God,
my creative activities. Yeah.
All of these romance writers in STEM is insane to me. Like it's such a boom of all of you, and it's incredible.
Yeah. You know, I think about this all the time. I feel like, so growing up, I was very into like music. I'm a band geek, like lifetime band geek.
Okay.
So then I got into college and graduate school and was so heavily focused on science that I feel like that creative side of my brain was kind of like dying for attention. Okay. So then, you know, writing I've been into creative writing my whole life too, you know, even as a kid, but I never really pursued it seriously until the past, I don't know, 5-10-ish years at this point. But
yeah.
It's almost like it kind of like burst out of me. Like I needed some kind of creative outlet. And so that's where I turned to writing. So now I have this balance. I mean, I obviously still have my day job. So I have this very kind of two extremes balance that I have to work with all the time. And it's fun. I really think like one needs the other. Like if I stopped doing one of them, the other would suffer. So we'll see how long I can maintain both.
It's incredible. So what was it like writing this book? Like this was your first time actually trying to write a book, or did you try to write in the past? I know you said you dabbled in creative writing, but what exactly have you been like doing prior to this?
Yeah. So actually this is not my first finished book. So I signed with my literary agent in 2019 as a thriller writer, actually.
Okay.
And my first thriller went out on submission and ended up not selling. So then later that year and then into 2020, I was working on different projects. And then I feel like I joke with my agent that the pandemic like broke my brain. Like I couldn't do darkness anymore. Like I tried, like I think I'm this like, you know, dark, brooding, mysterious writer, but I'm not. So I got the idea for this book and like my brain was just like craving something happy and more lighthearted and with a touch of romance. And this just came spilling out. And so since I've written this, I wrote this one in kind of the second half of 2020. And then immediately on its heels, I followed it up with my second book that actually comes out next summer, which is a more kind of traditional rom-com.
Right.
So I don't know, man, maybe I was meant to be a happy writer all along. And
crazy. I mean, I'm hearing a lot of that from writers, to be honest with you, from a bunch of different authors that I'm interviewing that have like totally had like not even like brain, I don't even know how you would call it, but like a reset because of COVID and like just wanting to try something different and like obviously like craving that levity and needing something a little happy. And so that's insane to me that this is just like a COVID story and you just So what was it like going on sub with this book? Obviously a completely different experience from when you did it with your thriller.
It was definitely. So yeah, this by comparison, this one was like a whirlwind. So my thriller, I think was on submission for I don't know, 3 or 4 months maybe before we kind of shelved it. But this one was on sub for 2 weeks and sold at auction, which was amazing. Really, really exciting. And yeah, kind of overwhelming. But so totally different than my first experience. And it was really kind of like validating, like, oh, maybe I can write in this genre, you know, because when I originally started writing this, it was my first real attempt at kind of like comedy or something more lighthearted. And I didn't really know what I was doing.
Right.
And I remember when I pitched it to my agent, I told her, I was like, it's kind of women's fiction, kind of a rom-com, but kind of speculative. So I don't even know what to call it.
Yeah. Yeah.
She was like, we'll figure it out. But
so
I mean,
crazy.
I guess it worked out. So here we are.
And then since like getting that book deal, how quick of a turnaround was it for you to like finalize the book, do the line edits, do the copy edits, like all of that? Like how quick of a turnaround?
Yeah, that was, so I've heard publishing professionals say they pretty much want like a finished copy of the book a year in advance.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of how it lined up. Time like doesn't make sense anymore with COVID.
Yeah,
but
I know.
So it sold January of 2021, and I think.
Oh my God! Okay, so you had a fast trajectory considering it's now July. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was originally going to come out in June of 22, but then I got bumped to July. But I think I was through with everything, all the editing by like early fall, I would want to say, of last year. And then, like they made the cover and everything. So yeah, it feels simultaneously like extremely long and very short.
Right. I'm sure. I'm sure.
I blinked, but also I've been waiting forever for this day to come. So.
Oh my God. Very exciting. Well, this book is definitely like women's fic with elements of like romance and stuff. I'm so curious about how this concept came to you, because I'm sure you've gotten this like since putting the book out and having other people read it. Like it's definitely like a similar concept to the movie Liar Liar, which I love. So like, tell me about the inspo. Did you like consciously think about Liar Liar when you were writing this book, or only after? Like, I would love to hear about that.
I did. Yeah. So it was kind of a combination of two things. So when like the very beginnings of the idea were in almost 2 years ago at this point. So like late summer of 2020. So I've been working from home for 5 months. Yeah. And I distinctly remember a day I was like laying on my bed, like staring at the ceiling, like life is so weird now. And I had this moment of just kind of thinking like, I don't really go through the routine, like hair and makeup and like putting on my clothes to go to the office. I don't do that anymore. And it just occurred to me how much time I was saving and how much just like generally happier I was. Like, I've never really been into like tons of, makeup and fashion, but so I kind of had been, tolerating those routines for a long time. And just when they stopped, I kind of had this like, wow, like, why did I even do that in the first place? Like this kind of realization. And so that was probably the very first like seed idea. So I was thinking of how I could potentially form a story around that. Okay. I didn't really have a concrete idea, but thinking of like, okay, what if a woman just kind of stopped complying with all these expectations? Like what would happen? What could unfold from there? Right. And then coincidentally, so that was like floating around in my head for a couple of weeks. And then truly coincidentally, a couple of weeks later, my husband was just randomly watching Liar Liar. And I've seen that movie so many times, can probably quote it. And I remember thinking like, what if this was about a woman, like just a full day of a woman unable to tell any kind of lies, and not really in the sense that, Jim Carrey's character is like a pathological liar, not like in that sense, not like a degenerate person. Yeah. Just confronting all of the like different types of dishonesty that women encounter from, when you get up to when you go to bed. And so that idea really merged with this kind of forsaken beauty routine epiphany that I had. And I don't know, just came together in my head. So I started thinking of
the perfect blend.
Of what if she was forced to be honest by whatever kind of magical intervention, what that day would look like and how it would play out. So yes, I know we kind of branded it like a feminist Liar Liar. And I guess truly that's kind of how it came out.
It for sure is. Before we go any further, I would love if you could share with everybody listening or watching the elevator pitch of your book of Nothing But the Truth.
Yeah. So this book, Nothing But the Truth, is a story about a Hollywood publicist who, on the eve of her 30th birthday and a big promotion at work, she goes to a bar to meet her boyfriend, and he stands her up, and she's kind of frustrated, and she makes a wish over her cocktail for the next day to be the perfect day. And then she wakes up the next morning and she's unable to lie to herself and to anyone else. And so it follows, the whole thing takes place in a single day. And it's basically 24 hours of her confronting all of the mistruths and dishonesties that women are expected to put up with and tolerate through a day. And it's, it ranges from everything from uncomfortable underwear all the way up to she's dealing with harassment in the workplace.
Yeah. When I first read the synopsis of this book, I think the book came to me. I was looking at the beginning of the year. Like I wanted to forecast different books I wanted to read for the year, and Nothing But the Truth came up, and I read the synopsis and I was like, honestly genuinely shook because I don't know if you know this, but like I'm approaching my 30s and I'm an entertainment publicist.
Yeah, you mentioned that. And I was intimidated. I was like, oh no.
So I was like, okay, this is like hitting a bit too close to home. Like this is me. This is essentially me. So I went into it so weary. And like, I have to tell you that the parts about the publicist made me laugh so much, especially about just the general concept of like what a publicist is. And like our main job obviously is maintaining the image of our clients. So the fact that like a lot of what our day-to-day jobs entail is, I wouldn't say lying, but like spinning the truth, manipulating the truth, presenting things in a nicer way. Right. So I loved the concept of like a publicist being unable to lie, because like, I don't like to think that I'm a liar, but obviously at the end of the day, like part of my job is obviously maintaining the image of my client. So like, how did you come up with the idea of the main character being a publicist? Like, do you have any like indication, or do you know anybody who's a publicist? Did you interview any publicists to write this character? Like, I would love to hear about the publicist background.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I needed her to have a job where having to be honest would cause a problem, right? Where it could be funny, but it would also like raise the stakes of the story. And I couldn't make her a lawyer because Liar Liar is about a lawyer.
Of course.
So I love stories about fictional Hollywood. I love, fake celebrities, kind of indulging in that just ridiculous world that we all worship. So I thought a publicist was kind of the perfect fit there. And I wish I could say, I mean, now I know you, but I wish I could say I knew publicists, but I didn't. I mean, I did some research, online. I remember some kind of iconic publicist characters from other stories, like the types of job duties they have, and just kind of ran with it. So I hope it's accurate. I've talked to people in the film industry, and they're like, yeah, this is pretty spot on.
Yeah, it is. And I was particularly just like laughing at the whole, and you kind of mentioned it before about the getting ready part, but like the having to just like be in a dress with the Spanx, with the hair, with the makeup, like running around, like it's such an extra layer of this job that people don't think about or consider, like our image too, as publicists. Yeah. And it just, for lack of a better word, like it is definitely a schlep. So the fact that you like hit that nail on the head, right? And like, it's such at the beginning of the book about her just like not wanting to do her hair and not wanting to put on like mascara and whatever, like, and dreading putting on the Spanx for the tight dress. Like it's just so relatable. So that part, especially being like in that world, I really appreciated. But the other part that I loved and I really resonate with, and especially as I'm approaching my 30s, is obviously like the societal pressures women feel to advance their lives in a romantic, familial sense. And like, she obviously feels the pressure in her job too, but the outside pressures are coming at her from her family, friends, whatever, to get married, to start having kids, whether she wants to do that or not. And I found that was very, very interesting. And the way that you built her out to like have those fears and that inner monologue of like, maybe this isn't what I want, but like, I'm getting it from all different directions, was very, very interesting to me. Why did you want to add that element of her personality to the story?
Yeah. So I think I wrote this story when I was 31. So I was very close to her in age. And I just remember feeling all of those pressures at that time, kind of, I don't know whose rule this is, but it's like, oh, you're 30, you have to accomplish, A, B, and C. And you're failing if you haven't. And that's ridiculous. But I think, for me personally, I was in school for my entire life. So I have friends who are my age who have multiple kids and married and own houses. And I'm like, oh, I have a ton of student loan debt and just completely different trajectory. Still, I feel like that pressure is put on women unfairly so much. And I really wanted to capture kind of every facet of her life and all of the, I don't know if lies is the right word, but struggles with the truth and expectations, I guess. So yeah, like you said, like hitting her career and her love life, and then just thinking about this expectation, like, oh, you're going to get married and you're going to have kids and it's just all going to happen. And, and I feel like a lot of times women aren't really given the opportunity to slow down and even think about if they want those things. They're just kind of pushed in this path of like, this is what's going to happen next. So I did enjoy, being like, I don't know, kind of using her as a mouthpiece to, to confront that.
Yeah. And not only did you use her as a mouthpiece in that circumstance, but also this book tackles a million different really, really like timely and important issues. And it's just like such a fuck the patriarchy kind of book. And I don't know if you've gotten that before, but that was just the vibes this book was spewing while reading it. But obviously it takes place in a post Me Too era, and there's sexual harassment case that happens at her job. Why was that specifically, that incident, important for you to write in the book? And was it hard for you to write? Like, there's a lot of the reclaiming of power in that, but was it challenging? Like, I can't imagine writing something like that is easy in any way.
It's pleasant. No, no, that's totally fair. So yeah, I didn't initially plan for this story to have a Me Too element to it. It just kind of organically came out as I was thinking of the trajectory of her day. And, you know, workplace mistreatment is just unfortunately so common that it just kind of like made sense, especially in Hollywood. You know, we heard, of course, I read the headlines and heard all the stories. Yeah. So I felt like it kind of fit naturally with the story. And it was challenging to write, but it was also really like satisfying to like make her come out on top of it. You know, like I love that. I love that scene in the book where she's like, the real moment where she's like hesitating to say anything. And she just has this thought like, you know what? Like, no, I know how this story ends and I'm going to change the ending. And I felt that was really like empowering. And I mean, if this can inspire anyone to speak up about anything, I'll just like, I can't even,
I'm sure it will.
How happy that makes me.
No. Yeah, I know. I'm really sure it will. There was so many inspiring moments in this book, but the fact that Lucy couldn't tell a lie ever in this book, especially in that day, was such an interesting concept. Were there any other lies or like situations you had her in that maybe didn't necessarily make the final edit of the book? Like, did you have any other ideas?
So like I'm always obsessed with like the logic of the magic. Like it has to make sense. It has to make sense. Like my agent and editors are always like, calm down. It's okay. But I think that's like the scientist part of my brain is I'm like, it has to make sense. But so like earlier drafts, I had her more kind of like physically incapable of doing things. Like if she tried to do something dishonest, she would like trip and fall down. And that just wasn't working on the page. But then, no, I really did have to think about like, can she think lies? She can't just speak lies. Like it was complicated. But I think pretty much everything made it onto the page from my original ideas. And I actually did. So when I was coming up with ways to fill up her whole day, I set up a little poll on Instagram and I asked like just for ideas of like what are things that women just put up with that we never talk about, you know. And it was basically just like, you know, my small group of followers before I was on Bookstagram. But it was all, you know, like everything that's in there that like harassment obviously, but like bikini waxes and like we don't talk about our periods and like we don't talk about how our boyfriends leave their hair all over the bathroom and all of these things that just kind of like minor frustrations. So that was really like validating because so many times, you know, someone would be like, oh yeah, like that's the thing that bothers me too. But we don't talk about it. Right. Yeah. So I hope all of those people I talk to can someday read the book and be like, yes, my complaint made it in there.
Yeah. Feel vindicated. I love that. So there definitely is some elements of romance in this story. And as a romance book queen myself, I have to just talk to you about them. What was that like? What were the most fun parts to write in the romancy parts of the story?
Yeah, that was so, I'm always a little like, I know that you're the romance queen and I'm always like, when I, you know, talk to people like you, I'm like, oh no, does it not have enough romance? Because it's not, I hesitate to call it a rom-com because I don't think it is. I think it's women's fiction with elements of romance in it. But I still wanted to like do that justice, you know? So of course she's, I knew that she was going to confront her current relationship, was going to be honest about like, okay, this isn't working. Let's get rid of it. So I wanted to give her the opportunity to kind of like meet someone new and just be swept off of her feet. I did play with the idea of her being, you know, at the end, like, I don't need a man, I'm independent. But then I liked the idea of like her being, you know, from the very beginning when she meets a hot bartender, to like be like, wow, I really like this guy. I'm really attracted to him. And then just watch it play out. So it was really fun to kind of tie in a few little tropey things. Like, you know, they keep running into each other. And of course he's a hot bartender and he's unreasonably sweet and understanding about everything. So That was fun. It's particularly in comparison to the relationship she was in. You know,
Right.
she realizes like she was going to marry this guy and was like not even close to how she feels about this guy she just met. So,
right.
Yeah, that was fun. And I don't know. I'm like, I blush sometimes, even at like the slightest romantic thing. So hopefully it comes across as sweet and loving on the page.
Yes. Of course. So you kind of mentioned this before, and I want to bring it up because it's also in your bio that you are a big fan of little touches of magic. And obviously this book has a touch of magic. So can you tell me about like your love for magic? What kind of books or love stories or movies or things you were reading that had magic that made you fall in love with this? Because I find like if it's not used properly, it's so not believable. But in this book, because it's like the birthday wish, like it all ties in and it's so cute. So like, tell me about your love for magic and how you use it in this book and how you continue to want to use it.
Yeah. So I think I love it so much because like you said, when used properly, it can really like reflect reality or like tell a larger truth about reality. And that's exactly what happens here, you know? And I've said this in, or actually I was just writing something about this for publicity. I haven't mentioned it yet, but I think to me, like one of the craziest things about this book is like the hook of the book, the magical hook of this book. Like the fact that that's a hook at all is so telling about reality that like I literally wrote an entire story about a woman who can't tell a lie. Like that is like out there enough to be worthy of a book. So I think that's what I like about it so much is it gives you the opportunity to kind of bend the rules of reality, but in a way that really kind of holds a mirror up and shows, you know, without this bit of magic, these certain things would never happen. And it just, I don't know, makes things a little bit more fun to set things in a world with a slight touch of magic.
So you mentioned before that your second book is coming up next year. Do we get any info right now about what this book is about? Is there any magic? Like, is there anything you could share? Yeah.
So there is. Yeah. So that one actually, the deal announcement came out last summer. So it's like the official blurb hasn't been released, but like you could find it if you wanted to search for it online. But yeah. So it's called The Deja Glitch, and it also is a touch of magic. I think we branded it as a oh shoot, what was the term? They made this up for me, I swear. It's like a lightly speculative upmarket women's fiction.
Okay, love.
So very niche. But yeah, so this one, I love this one so much. So it's actually a play on a time loop story. So it's the basic premise is strangers in LA who are stuck in a 24-hour time loop and they have to fall in love to break out of the loop. But the catch is only the guy remembers the loop and the girl feels like it's the first time they've met every day.
Oh my God.
So we only see a single day of the loop. And at that point, like he's head over heels for her and she doesn't know who he is. And he has to like convince her.
Oh my God.
And yeah, and that one, it's again kind of set on like the periphery of the entertainment industry, but it's like the music industry, kind of, and kind of a TV industry too. But yeah, that one was so much fun to write. And I really wanted to, for that one, the idea was I wanted to explore a story where within a couple, like one person couldn't remember the other person, but in like a funny way, not in a tragic way, in a funny way.
Okay.
So like, you know, like, it's me, I swear, you know me. And the other person's like, what? So, so that's where that came from. But
oh my God.
Yeah, that book's currently in copy edits. And it's much more, rom-com than Nothing But the Truth is. It's definitely focused on the couple. The couple's the central story. And I'm really excited for that one to start getting out there because I love it so much.
Oh my God. That premise sounds insane. That's like a crazy, wild idea. You'll have to come back when it comes out next summer, and we'll talk about it because I think I would really adore it. But is there anything you're working on right now, or has this been taking up all of your time?
Yeah. Another great question.
Oh my God. You're so busy.
I'm technically, I am currently working on my potential book 3. So my first 2 books were each single book deals. So I'm at the stage in the contract portion of book 2 where I can submit to my option book 3, like in the next week. So I'm working on that. I know it all like lines up and piles up.
Crazy,
very exciting, but overwhelming. that is hopefully, if my publisher loves it, another more traditional rom-com.
So
that
fun.
will be out in 2024 at this point. But
oh my God,
yeah,
wow.
So I know I remember hearing at one point, someone said, like, by the time you're doing publicity for book 1, book 2 is in copy edits and you're drafting book 3, and like you can't keep them apart. Like, I don't know
I'm sure
which character's doing what in my head.
yeah
But
oh my God,
I mean,
I can't imagine.
This is the dream though, right? This is what I worked for. So
for
exciting.
Sure. It's amazing. I'm so excited for you. I can't wait. I'm sure everybody will love this book. I can't wait to read your next one. Like, only going up from here, only good things.
Oh, thank you. I know it's very exciting. And I know I have these moments of like, oh, it's going to be out in the world. Like people can see it and hold it and read it and tell me what they think about it, which is terrifying, but exciting.
I know. So. No, it's exciting. It's all good. It's all good. Just have to get the release day over with, and then it'll be all exciting things. I know. It's
1 week from tomorrow.
So exciting. Well, by the time this goes live, it'll be out, so everyone can go run and buy it. Make sure you follow Holly on all socials, slide into her DMs telling her how much you love it. But this was so much fun. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat. I loved getting to see you and talk to you face to face. So much nicer than over texting on DMs.
Yes.
This was so much fun. Thank you again.
Yes. And thank you. And congratulations on the success of your podcast. It's exciting. I remember, just your whole platform. I remember when you reached out to me, I was like, I'm not cool enough to talk to her. What? But now I feel honored to be here with the caliber of other authors you've had on here. Dang, I've been in good company.
My pleasure. Listen, I'm always trying to give give all the opportunities for all different types of authors and stories. And I'm down to talk to anybody who wants to talk to me. So I appreciate you taking the time, especially on your holiday weekend. It was so kind of you. So I appreciate it.
Of course. No, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Bye.